Today was obviously WWDC, and we have some new stuff to cover, as well as some things we would have liked to see. Now, obviously, this event was mainly about iOS 12, and that's what most people were expecting. And they really did work with the the geometry of the GPU and the CPUs to make them much faster, so we could possibly be seeing higher benchmark scores, which means that the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, which are the fastest phones on the market, could be getting faster and separate themselves even more. So that was Apple's bread and butter for iOS 12 this year. It's supposedly up to 40% faster. It has a 40% faster app launch, a 50% faster keyboard display, and a 70% faster camera. So we'll just have to see about that one. And it's 2 times faster on a share sheet display under load, and 2 times faster app launcher under load. And like I said, they did work with the CPU a little bit. And one rumor that was true, it does go all the way back to the iPhone 5S and up to, obviously, the iPhone 10. It would be crazy if they didn't support it. And they also used a universal scene description, which is optimized for sharing, compact, single-file, open format. So I don't understand this fully, but I believe it's working more with AirDrop or something like that, or more with data sharing and making it faster. But I'm not pretty sure about that. So comment below if you have extensive knowledge about that. And like I said, it does go back to the iPhone 5S. And something else that is new is that they're working with a new set of AR. So it's just supposed to be a little bit more stable, a little bit more accurate, things like that. Something else is that Google Photos will now be getting search suggestions, which is kind of like Google Photos, but hey, it's glad that we have it, and it's glad that we're here. Now, Siri is more integrated within third-party apps and not just Apple's iOS native apps. So, like, with this app, I forget the name of it, but it's an app that helps you find your keys. You can just say, "Hey, Siri, I lost my keys." If you set up that skill in her settings, then then she'll just go to that app and it'll start finding your keys for you. And they went through a few different examples at this event. She also has new skills where, like, she's being considerate to your time or something. So if she knows that you have a meeting scheduled and you're running late, she'll say, "Hey, text Janine, I'll be a few minutes late." That'll be in like one of her suggestions or something that you should do. Next, we have turn on Do Not Disturb when I leave this location. So, like, say you leave. Turn on Do Not Disturb until I leave this location. So say you walk into your job. Say your job is 100 Elmore Lane. When you walk into 100 Elmore Lane, your phone will say, "Oh, I'm at 100 Elmore Lane. I should turn on Do Not Disturb. She's at her job. She doesn't need to be disturbed." He or she. So if you set up that skill, when you walk into 100 Elmore Lane, it'll know that they're not supposed to be disturbed. And it'll also remind you to call your grandma for your birthday if you want to do that, if you have people's birthdays set up in their contacts, or you could just set a reminder like I do. But anyway, it's always good to see new features. It's always good to see that Apple is working and not getting complacent and making their products better. Once again, this is just Siri working, being more integrated, and something that you are all been waiting for, Stocks app, yay! So the Stocks app does get a redesign, and yeah, it does look different. I don't use the Stocks app. I deleted it from day one just to save a little bit of space. And the News app got a little bit of a redesign, and it also came to Mac OS, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And it also comes with new tabs: Reading Now, Library, the Bookstore, Audiobooks, and Search. So they did mooch off of the App Store a little bit as far as finding that, and as you can tell, it does retain kind of the same design. But it always is good to see, once again, like I said, to see Apple working and moving to get better, even though it might not be in areas where we want it to. And also, CarPlay got a redesign, and I don't have a CarPlay enabled car, so that doesn't affect me much at all. And once again, like I said, with the Bookstore and different Stocks app redesign, and as well as voice memos got redesigned, and that came to the iPad as well. And next, if you go to your control center and you 3D click on Do Not Disturb, it gives you a little bit more detailed of how long you don't want to be disturbed. You can be disturbed for an hour, or this evening, or until you leave such and such location, or until you leave such and such event. Or you can click the little tab at the bottom and custom schedule it yourself. Next, something that I'm so glad that we are seeing in iOS 12 is group notifications. And as you can see, if you go in a little bit, sorry for a little bit of a blur, I was going with screenshots and trying to go fast and get this video out ASAP. But you can, if you look at the message, you can see that there's ones behind it. It's not just that single bubble itself. So when you click on it, I don't have a screenshot of that, but when you click on it, or when you 3D click it, it'll show up all the messages that you have as far as that app or something like that. And next, we have something that I am not terribly excited for at all. This is something that monitors your health with your phone. So it can say such and such phone, this is how long that they've spent on that phone, these are the different apps that they've spent on it. And it can also set a time limit for that, but we're not going to tell my parents about that. And so, like, say you only want 15 minutes per day of Instagram, which is... yeah, let's not even talk about how crazy that is. But in case you wanted to do that, you could. And when the time limit is up, then you'll get this white screen, and you can ignore the limit, or you can just get out of it like you're supposedly supposed to. Next, Apple brought in a new feature with the tongue, so it'll use the tongue. So it'll use the 3D dot projector and take better account of your tongue. So you can be a monkey sticking your tongue out now. That's amazing. And there are also new animojis. We have a ghost, which really does look like a Snapchat ghost. We have a ghost, a koala, and a tiger, which those are cool. And they all come tongue enabled as well. Oh, and last but not least, we have the T-Rex as well. And next, we have something that completely mooched off of Samsung emojis, or whatever they're called. We have AR emojis, or memojis, I think that's what they're called. I can never remember Apple's naming scheme for different things like this. It should just be simple and not overly elaborate and things like that. Overly elaborate like that. So say you start out with this simple face right here, you can just graph that into all of these different faces and just make it literally into anything you want, which really does mooch off of Samsung emojis and Bitmoji, which is a really cool app. I'll try to remember to link that below. If I don't, then you can just search it on the App Store or on the Play Store. Bitmoji, it'll probably be the first one that comes up. And this is the interface for designing your new personal emoji. You can pick the skin tone, you can pick the hair, and different things like that. And like I just said, it does mooch off of Samsung a little bit, but we're just going to ignore that. And something that has been long awaited for FaceTime, which is grouped FaceTime, and you can do it with up to 32 different people. And the way it works is that whoever talks the most has the biggest bubble, and the people who aren't talking are down here in the profile section. Or at least that's what I'm calling it. I'm pretty sure that's not Apple's original name, but they're down here in just a section in a row, and you can just scroll through. So whoever talks the most will have the biggest bubble up top. And yeah, so when she was talking, she was the biggest bubble, then she stopped talking and he started talking, so he got bigger, obviously. And one other thing that most people didn't catch is that the buttons are redesigned a little bit. Right now, if you go on a FaceTime call and you want to do a screenshot or do something else, then you'll just have to press the little button. It looks a lot like the camera shutter in the actual photo album itself. And this X kind of does remind me of the Google Duo interface and the Google Duo buttons. But hey, once again, we're glad to see that Apple is doing something when this wasn't supposed to be a feature-packed update anyway. Next, we have watchOS, and these are the apps that Apple mainly focused on, connectivity and the rings. So they started out with the rings, and they have different competitions. They have different 7-day competitions and challenges. You have different progress updates, which I imagine will come to your notifications We have awards. It'll give you different badges and see who else has badges as well. And all of these different things come to the fitness. So say you're handicapped and in a wheelchair, it'll still count your stuff. Say you're on a bike and you're out going on a bike ride, it'll still count your stuff. So yeah, that's pretty cool as well. Next, we have yoga. So if you're doing a yoga workout, you can track that. If you're hiking, you can do that as well. If you're doing an outdoor run, you can track that. It'll give you pace alerts. So if you're behind target, if you're ahead of target, it'll give you your BPM. It'll give you your time, obviously, and it'll give you the little icon and the time, the actual time, rather than your running time. And it'll give you cadence, which is obviously displayed on the screen. And it'll give you start alerts. It looks like you're working out. So if you're working out and you didn't actually start a workout on the watch, it'll give you that little notification saying, "Hey, you're doing such and such. Are you working out?" So you can start that if you forgot to. Next, you have a retroactive credit, so it'll give you different credits at the end of your workout. It'll tell you your BPM, your mile, your actual time as well. It'll have your end alerts. It'll ask you if you ended your workout. And I believe these are new watch bands, and I did watch WWDC from beginning to end. I just didn't catch that detail. And I do believe these are new watch bands. And you have walkie-talkie. So you can talk to one I believe you can talk to 3 or more different people. I'm not sure what the limit is on that, but you can do walkie-talking. You can add different people to your conversation. And it'll give you this little talking interface when you're talking back and forth and actually on the walkie-talkie, so to speak. And also, Siri gets a redesigned watch face. She was implemented heavily in this update. And she also has the little shortcuts like you do on your iPhone and iPad. You have sports maps and your heart rates. So those will show up in your notifications and your little pings and cards, obviously, if you would want them to. And Siri shortcuts, like I just said. And there are new apps. I'm not sure. Yes, actually, those are City Mapper and different things like that. I believe they open up your location and things like that a little bit more to third-party developers. And you have interactive notifications, so instead of 3D clicking on it, you can use that little shortcut again, and you can also swipe and do a few different things with that. And like I just said... And you also have web content, so you can actually read a message instead of saying you got a message from such and such person and going to the Messages app and seeing that. And you have web content, so you can actually search and Google things on your wrist, which is pretty cool. I could see that being a useful feature. And next you have podcast. I believe those are coming to your wrist. And these should be new watch bands. And also, like I said, they did open this up to third-party developers a little bit more. Pay by phone, 10 minutes, your parking session is up. It'll give you little notifications like that. And here's just a few more examples of the notifications. And also for TV, not TB, OS, Dolby Atmos, they partnered up with them. And so you will have different 3D surround sound speakers for that. So, yeah. And also something that was leaked, but not really leaked, but it was there if you wanted it. If you set your Apple Watch time forward, you would have access to this Gay Pride home screen. But they finally released it to the public, just saying. So that's there if you want it. And that was the Apple Watch. And like I said, for the Dolby Atmos, they did partner up with them. There's tvOS, and then they have support for their speakers, and I believe this is a surround sound system, which will obviously get you more immersed and make you watch TV more. And it's a free upgrade. Apple obviously re-implements that, and they have a new little sticker in the control center. And they also come with a new wallpaper. This one is from the International Space Station. And Mac, which will be our final subject topic for today. We already got a big leak, but let's just go ahead and roll through it anyway. These are supposedly the new wallpapers, or what they put beside it when they were talking about it. And these are the different this is obviously the wallpaper that they use. And it ended up being macOS Mojave, excuse me. And it goes from light to dark,